All right, welcome to Family Development as we are doing today our marriage exercises. I want to remind everyone, Cindy, that it's important not just to have the knowledge of something, but to apply it.
Right.
And so these exercises are something that you have to make sure that you're not just listening to and you're not just learning about, but it's something you're applying. Now, today what we're going to do is we're actually going to talk about something that is very detrimental to marriages, because what happens is when you have a communication breakdown in a relationship, and especially in a marriage, what can happen is your marriage seems to struggle, and it will struggle because of this breakdown. And so today we want to be able to give you an exercise that I'm telling you, it's almost going to take away the communication breakdown. There's other things that you have to do, but this one exercise right here is almost going to take away that whole breakdown that you might be having in your relationship with your spouse. And the exercise is actually called communication meetings. And we're going to talk about that and how often we need to do that, what needs to go on while we're doing that. So it's going to be an incredible session. And so I want to kind of start off when you talk about communication breakdown, Cindy, about how does a woman feel when there's a communication breakdown in the marriage?
Well, it's very important, men, to realize that for women, everything's pretty much connected. So if we have a communication issue, it doesn't just affect that one area. It's going to bleed into other areas, in our lives. So everything's kind of connected. So one breakdown over here, you may think, oh, we're great and everything else, but that one breakdown will bleed into other areas.
And so what happens when in a household, a lot of times the wife is the one that's handling the books for the finances, or there's decisions that need to be made, even with what to do with a kid, or what to do with the finances, or what's going to happen this week. I mean, there's so many decisions, and when there's no communication, how does that make you feel as far as the pressures?
Right. So when I know there are certain things that I don't want to make the decision on, I know that I need his input. And so it's almost like that pressure becomes just a weight, and then it can cause frustration. And so what will happen is, if I know, man, I need answers on something like the guy says, I need my alternator changed, or I need 4 brand new tires, and I don't know if he's ripping me off or not, or maybe one of the kids have been being characterized by this certain misbehavior, and I don't know what to do. And what happens is, if I feel like I can't go to you, or if maybe you come home and you've had a very stressful day and you're tired, but I need answers because I need to know, I need to have a car to be able to bring the kids everywhere I need to bring them the next day. And so you're tired, and who knows, when you're tired, you don't want to discuss things like that. That's just not a great time. And so I'm kind of like, I want to do well and ask at the right time and all of that. And it just adds pressure. It'll add frustration. And guess what? Like I said, when everything's connected, so it'll bleed into other areas as well.
And then the other side of that is, as men, like you were saying, when we get home from a long day's work, or we have our mind occupied on something else, it's hard for men to be able to do multiple things at one time. And so many times, we're just not in a position where we want to hear something. Or you may have a spouse that is just always telling you something at odd times, texting you something while you're at work, and your mind is on something else, and it can be frustrating.
Right.
And ladies don't want to be the Bible calls that dripping in the house, that drip, because it'll drive a man crazy.
Right.
And so you don't want to do that, and that's not good for the marriage. And so there has to be a way where we can come together, and this is where this exercise comes in. And this is a simple exercise, but it's one that you have to be disciplined in. And it's called a communications meeting weekly. And so basically what we do is we find the right time that's good for both of us to have this meeting. And why is that important?
Because you want to make sure that you choose a time that's convenient for the two of you, that you're fresh. You know, you don't want to choose a Monday night at 10 o'clock, you know.
Right.
So make sure you choose a good time that you're rested and you have all your thinking cap on and your emotions are good, all of that.
And it's important to have a time where you're fresh and a time that works for both of you. And it's also a time that's not going to get thrust around. In other words, it's not going to get moved around by other meetings or other things that come up and work that comes up, all this. So you really need to have a time that works for both of you where you can sit down and you can discuss. It's literally a meeting that you set and you put in your calendar. And it goes back to using your calendar. Calendars are such a great tool for a marriage. And so it's a time that you set in a calendar. And for us, it's right now in our life, it's Wednesdays at 8 o'clock. And so Wednesdays at 8 o'clock, we're going to sit down and we're going to begin our communications meeting. You want to say something?
Yeah, and let me explain the importance of this is, men. So I know that every Wednesday morning at 8 o'clock, he's made it a priority, so he is going to be there. So if I have a question on a Friday, and I know it's not an emergency, because honestly, most things are not an emergency, and it can wait till that next Wednesday, I actually have a file in my phone labeled Mark. And so what I do is I put that question in that file, and I have a list. And so I know that my answer will be my question will be answered on that Wednesday morning. So when he comes in, I'm not stressed about, when can I get this answer? I know it's going to be answered that Wednesday morning. And it's just, it just creates so much peace. And so I come to that Wednesday morning prepared. I have a list. And there are some weeks where I'm like, hey, I don't have anything. We go over our calendars for the week or anything upcoming, in the several weeks. And it just creates a peace and honestly a security, because I find that really falls under the protection umbrella, especially when it comes to big decisions. And if the woman, me as a woman, if I feel like I have the weight of some really big decisions that are really too big for my shoulders, it creates a feeling of unprotected feeling, and which is not good. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. And so let's talk about that meeting for a second. So when you set your meeting, so the key is you set the meeting, you don't let other things get in the way of this meeting. From time to time, they're going to have emergencies or holidays or something like this, but you can readjust the meeting if you have things that you need to go over, or you can wait till the next week. And that's the importance of having it every single week.
Right.
And so basically, Cindy, when we sit down, the first thing we do, we like to do it over a cup of coffee. And so we have our coffee, but then we take out our phones and we're going to go over our calendars. Mm-hmm. And so this is huge because a lot of families, their calendars run into each other.
Right.
And because this one does not know what that one's doing. And when we sit down, we're able to go, hey, one of our children has a baseball game at this time on Saturday. Are you going? Or are we both going? How are we getting there? And basically, we work through this whole thing. I'll tell her, right, hey, I'm going to be out these 2 nights because let's say I'm going to travel somewhere, I'm going to the hunting camp, and then she's able to go, okay, and she'll put on her calendar, marks out these 2 nights, and that frees her up with being able to do something, or likewise, you let me know, hey, I'm having this at the house, and I'm going to have ladies over there, and I'll know not to be there. I'll know to go do something else.
He hides.
Yeah, or hide, but, or if we're going to go somewhere, it just makes so much sense. There's no organization that can run efficiently without having meetings. And it's the same thing in a family. It's an organism, but it's also, in a sense, an organization within itself. And you guys are the partners in this, that you have to work together to be able to match up your lives and to make sure that we're doing life together and we're not missing out. And so we go over, hey, a date night's coming up. So we even go over some of our marriage exercises that are on the calendar already. And so all of these things are hugely important.
And we even take advantage of, so say if I am having women at the house, I'll ask them, hey, can you make sure, can you get the lawn done the day before? Or this needs to be fixed before that. Can you do it, or do you need me to take care of it? And so even that just is such a blessing, because you're not feeling like, oh, I have to get everything done, and we work together.
So in a communication meeting, you're going over the calendar, and then you're going over questions that you have for one another. I do the same thing. I write in my calendar, actually, on that time and date, the things I need to ask Cindy. And so we ask each other the questions, and then normally there's time left over. And so this is a great time if you have something in your marriage or in the home that's not going well, or that's might be bothering you. This is a great non-conflict time to bring that up so that you guys can discuss it. Now, don't bring up 10 things. Pick one, talk about it. Because remember, you're doing this every week. And as you do this every week, all of a sudden, you're going to feel as one. You ever felt that separation in marriage where you're growing apart? Well, this helps that not happen, where you're doing life together. You're being conscious of each other's calendars. You making sure, that you're staying balanced and all that. And so these meetings are huge, huge.
And it also gives you an opportunity to show honor and respect for the other's time. Yeah. And so when you realize, hey, man, I may feel like I have a really busy schedule, but I know his is just as busy, even not more. So it gives that respect there. And
the other thing it does, it releases the evenings and the other times that you are together to not have to go over that stuff, where you can spend time romantically, or you could spend time, just talking about fun things, or with the kids, or so you're not having to deal with all this all the time. You're just dealing with it at your communications meeting that needs to be weekly. And guys, this is an exercise, I'm telling you, that can make just a big difference and pay big dividend into your marriage, so you don't have the communication breakdown. You feel like, okay, I know what's going on. We know what's going on with one another. We know where we're going as a family. I'm telling you, this is a game changer. And so please, man, find a time. And look, you might have to play with that a little bit, where you say you're trying Monday mornings at 6 a.m. and that's not really working. Well, find another time. It might be a Saturday morning. It might be a Saturday afternoon. It might be, a 4:30 in the afternoon tea time, and or coffee time, where you can drink coffee and talk. It's just, look, 1 hour. I'm telling you, if you give yourself to this 1 hour a week, you'll watch how your family will come together. You and your spouse will come together. The communication breakdown will not be there, and you're going to have a healthy marriage. It's going to help you have a healthy marriage. And I'm telling you, this is something that every couple ought to be doing. And so I want you to take out your calendars. Y'all talk to one another. Figure out when is going to be your communications meeting each and every week. And you do that and watch how healthy your marriage gets. Amen?
Amen.